Welcome to Sovereign Soul Radio. Here, we cultivate conscious conversations to support those of us who are healing and awakening now. I am Ivy, a consciousness steward and holistic practitioner, and please join me in these conversations that are so necessary for our transforming human reality at this time. May we all leave these conversations differently than we came. Where we go one, we go all. And so it is. Hello, soul friends and soul family, and welcome to the first unofficial episode of the Sovereign Souls podcast. So I've had this podcast incubating in my heart for quite some years, and this episode that you're about to listen to, I recorded months ago. So because this content was already created, I really wanted to share it here because it's going to give you, if you care to listen, a deeper dive into me and what I'm bringing to the table with this and what my intentions are and what you can expect of growing this relationship auditorily with me. So thank you so much for being here with me, and huge gratitude for you and your journey. Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Soul Belly podcast. I am your host. My name is Ivy Rose, and I've got to start by telling you that I am beyond enchantedly excited in the depths of my being and my heart that this podcast, that this endeavor of my heart is finally coming to fruition, and I'm trusting that it must be in perfect timing. So, the intention and vision of this podcast is to create a platform for us to listen, to experience, and really to share a heightened and expanded consciousness that is both available and relevant to every single one of us in this collective community of humans who are at different stages of awakening right now and healing themselves and healing one another and remembering at the heart and soul of us who we really are and what this human experience is truly about and for. So this podcast episode is merely a hopefully wonderful introduction to what my intentions are, what you can expect to feel and learn through tuning into this community that will be created. And I want to introduce myself to you and tell you a little bit about my journey and why every cell of me is urged to create this podcast, knowing that yes, you listening right now, and I we're meant to connect. So, Soul Belly is, for me, a meeting place within myself and within the self and their own perspective, where spiritual self and soul embodiment are physically tied and integrated at every level within the body of us, within this physical, literal ecosystem of our person and the human physical vessel in which our spirit resides. So Soul Belly represents that internal body of the invisible, of the quantum, with the physicality of this humanly self. The place inside of us where our human life becomes acquainted with our before and with our after of this existence, so that we may better understand that this human experience is another expression of our eternal, continual, spiritual expression. Really, whatever it means to be an internal being, but, we have always been and we will always be, and surely as time goes on, we will understand more and more of what that truly means. But Soul Belly it really speaks to that connection between the divine and this guttural, earthly, tribal, ancestral, incredible biological, physiological being that we are, because often in the ways that we think that, we've got our mental, emotional, kind of spiritual, cognitive, that sense of us, and then we also have these suits of flesh, these flesh sacks that we live within, and really we cannot we cannot separate and contain these two different things isolated from one another, because truly we are this system of this spiritual experience, of this quantum world manifested into this third dimensional reality right now in the form of these human bodies. So in all of my areas of study, this is just this is what lights me up, is really gaining greater perspective and understandings of what this reality for us truly is. So I have lived and still currently live a quite unconventional life to most living in North America. And because of this, I have had the challenging blessing of witnessing and experiencing many interesting, transformative human realities and situations. With years and years of study and long periods of isolation, more so than I think what a typical woman my age ever experiences, and so much incubation and introspection, I'm so grateful and inspired to cultivate and curate as conscious as possible conversations and subject matter for this podcast that will be supportive, encouraging, and enlightening to you on many different levels. So this podcast will have two different forms. We will have solo episodes like this where it is just you and I together, and then we will also have interviews with amazing humans that have soulful journeys where they have learned so much, where there will be magic and healing within these stories to share with you. And I prefer to call these, instead of interviews, more so a conscious conversation, as it, to me, the sweetest things cannot be planned, and I desire for these to be very raw and organic and unscripted, so that each conversation will be allowed to be a journey that unfolds within and of itself, with whatever magic and medicine is meant to flow through from these incredible beings to me and to you and to whoever is listening. We live such individuated lives with this insane idea of separation between us, and we must collectively really begin truly understanding on a daily basis that we are all intimately connected here on this planet right now through space and time, and let's all just support each other and get along and hold beautiful space for the self-realization of one another, and the healing of us individually and collectively. So in my lineup of these collaborative, conscious conversations that are coming soon, we have incredible humans from all walks of life. And just knowing right now, I know that there's going to be two descriptors that all of these folks are going to fit into. Number one is that they have been through challenge. They have been through the hard stuff, the mucky stuff. They have and or maybe still are navigating that dark night of the soul. And yes, they have been through stuff, I know. And number two that all of these humans will have, which is a byproduct, I truly believe, of being through the muck, is that these humans are so wholehearted and compassionate, and have service to the whole instead of service to self and mind. And yes, incredible beings coming to you. These people from all walks of life that will be joining us will be holistic practitioners of many different modalities. We've got yoga teachers and meditation teachers. We have astrologists, artists, musicians, entrepreneurs, elders, way showers, globe-trotting healers, writers and poets, and even I'm quite certain that I'm going to be including some incredible anecdotal transformational testimonies from my colon hydrotherapy clients who wish to publicly share their incredible self-healings, because again, not enough people are truly talking and embodying healing the self and integrating soul through a cleansing of the bowels. And I will have so much to say on that. But we're going to have a lineup of amazing people to be in your ears and in your heart so soon. So, in our episodes that are just you and I here together in this now moment, facilitated through the internet land, we are going to get pretty cozy together. I have a number of categories or themes, if you will, of podcast content that my heart is demanding that I share with you. So, interesting thing about me, my day job is being a colon therapist, or a colon hydrotherapist as we are often called. And seeing as though there is extremely limited and surprisingly limited podcast content on this subject, I feel a duty to create a lot of accurate and hopefully inspiring and encouraging content to teach you as much as I can about supporting, detoxifying, and allowing the body to heal itself through cleansing, through balancing and optimizing the functioning of the ecosystem of the digestive tract. So why do I want to talk so much about this? I mean, I don't know if I want to talk so much about this. I mean, I'm just so used to literally talking about poop all the time. But nearly everyone who is suffering from some type of inflammatory condition or symptom or disease symptom, or over acidity or parasitic infections, like all of these ways that people are suffering, and we're gonna talk so much about this stuff in the future, but all of these ways that these people are suffering generally is all beginning in the gut. So 90% of all diseases, like that's pretty much everything, all begins in the colon. So in the colon, that in your whole digestive tract, this is your portal where we choose health or we choose degrading diseases and inflammation. And that being said, most people are being over medicated and actually, inaccurately diagnosed, and then when we're mismedicated and over medicated, then we end up getting all of these symptoms, and we create a whole situation that is snowballing, and it's so completely unnecessary, and it is so defeating, and it is so expensive, when really we can all be feeling just so much better than this if we understand how to simply take care of these bodies. So I have about 14 years behind me of holistic training and study, and my own health was very lost, if really from birth until my late 20s. I had so many health challenges personally, which came from a very constipated body, and from what I've been through, and in the most incredible ways that I have seen other humans absolutely change their health by starting at the digestive tract in a way that is lasting and sustainable. There's not much more important to me than sharing some of this with you at this time, because we all need to change the ways that we're doing things, because the ways that we're doing things just in these societies in general are just really hard on the body, very polluting to the body, and truly so much of it is completely ass backwards. So we'll have lots of great conversations about all of this, but there's so many areas when it comes to holistic health that I want to be teaching and speaking with you on, that I would love to have your input of, like, first and foremost, what do you need to know? What are you most curious about? What are you suffering with? What are your loved ones suffering with? What is it that you're just not finding the right information, or the solutions that others are suggesting, they just don't make sense to you? Or what medicines are you so tired of being on and not anything getting better? We can start in those places. So if you do have any specific questions or areas that you're very curious about, I want you to email me. Okay? And I'm going to have some episodes that are also Q&A and answering questions. So anyways, whatever type of input you want to give me, I want to create this body of content to be what you are looking for. So please participate with me, shoot me a line, give me some ideas here. So there will be many podcasts on the subject of cleansing, of healing, and colon hydrotherapy. This also means that I'm going to be talking about poop, bowel movements, feces, stool, a lot. Okay, I know that this has been culturally taboo, but that is part of the reason why this is a problem right now. So we need to get used to speaking about this, because this is real life stuff that everybody deals with, and at least upwards of 80% of people all have some type of digestive and poop complaint, right? Because we are just completely uneducated of what any of this should truly be like and how to make it happen well. So that being said, if me talking about poop seems a little bit cringeworthy to you at this point, I'm going to ask you to settle into that discomfort and Because, like, understanding your own body, which its well-being truly depends on you being able to make good poops. So understanding the body is really the key to your own healing, your empowerment, and your own sovereignty when it comes to your body and your health. And understanding your body is also really a portal of consciousness expansion and spiritual evolution. So understand that you are first and foremost a spiritual being having a human experience. One thing I see time and time and time again with all of the amazing humans that show up for themselves in simply a series of colon hydrotherapy treatments is that there is always like an inner revolution of sorts to varying degrees, and it becomes a very spiritual experience for people. So there will be a lot more sharing about that in the future. But coming back to poop, in the terms of poop, I will be saying the word shit a lot. I hope that is okay with you. Please do not be offended. There's just only so many times in a day that I can say feces, or bowel movement, or excrement, or stool. And honestly, the adorable little word of shit is a is a beautiful and endearing word to me. So please let's come at all of this with a little bit of humor, and because we're all in this together, and shit happens. Well, and it needs to happen far more. So if you are a human that is simply not ready or just simply doesn't want to hear about me talk about poop, I will ensure that these podcasts are well labeled, and I will try to keep all the poop talking ones to specific podcasts. So we'll keep these all well labeled so that you can avoid all the shit talk you want to until you are ready. But please do stick around nonetheless. Even if you don't want to hear about holistic health and poop, stick around. Or if you don't want to hear about the more interesting rabbit holes that we might journey together and you just want to stay for the poop talk, then stay around anyways. But know that there is so much goodness being cultivated, created, and curated right here for you and your journey. If you're listening to this now, know that this alignment has taken place for a reason, okay? Feel that. Nothing's random. So in addition to the holistic healing that happens through digestive system work, we will also be speaking of all things holistic health, of food, of different holistic modalities, and much, much more. So again, if there are specific things that you want to know more about or get my perspective on, send me that email. And if you have questions, other folks are going to have the same or similar questions. So again, we're all in this together, and as we grow and heal ourselves, we increase the same ability for those around us. Outside of the realm of incredible and awakening collaborative conversations in all things holistic health and colon hydrotherapy, we will also be exploring together a vast body of other topics that I am very passionate about, that again are all relevant to all humans who are undergoing this process of individual and collective awakening, healing, and greater soul integration and embodiment. So some of these topics that we will be journeying through together include all of the following, and there's still so much more than this, but I'm so excited to share this with you. So we will be speaking of the relationship with self and relationship with other. We will speak of self-care, of boundaries, of compassion, of creativity, of shame, of courage, of vulnerability, as of empathy as a function of the nervous system, of the journey of human embodiment and the dark night of the soul, of universal laws and alignment with nature, of plant medicine, indigenous elders, and wisdom keepers, of forgiveness, of the human body as a multidimensional light projector and even as a time traveler, of creating energetic balance, of understanding this reality matrix, of geopolitics, and maybe even exopolitics. A lot of even controversial issues that truly demand us to evolve our perspective, of discernment and of personal sovereignty and consent and intent and authority, of the balancing of the sacred feminine and divine masculine, of addiction, of heartbreak, of joy, of travel, and heck, even of food. Maybe we'll share some really good recipes. So, as you can surely hear and feel, in this podcast, we will be exploring many facets of being a human on planet Earth and this collective journey that we have embarked on within each of us. Through my own human experiences and spiritual experiences and teachings, my magical superpower, if you will, is an ability to connect the dots and to perceive a larger picture and perception of this reality and the way that we are all connected, multidimensionally and through this space-time matrix of soul. I like to call this relational energetic architecture. When we can see and perceive and feel from a place of greater awareness and a larger, more broad, balanced, and accurate perspective, everything changes. Our perception expands and we integrate and we heal because our entire realities change as our perception grows. As we release trauma and all the societal programming that is no longer relevant or true, integral, or even beneficial, we are collectively at the climax in a massive shift and evolution of consciousness on this planet right now, like literally now. And each and every single one of us is expanding our consciousness and learning to discern and be integral and be safe humans. And this is really what soul is calling of us to grow into. And there is so much more taking place that is not yet obvious at all to all of our eyes. And it is time for all of us to journey inward a little deeper, a little further, so that we can all create the inner adjustments, healing, and changes that will then assist in the evolution of our outer experience as we use our consciousness to radically begin shifting our world into the next stage of what we know is possible in our hearts. So when I get too much up in my own head and in my own mind, I start wondering about who this podcast may reach. Who is going to listen? What is your journey? What are your struggles? And how can my voice, perception, and experiences be of aid and support to you on your own journey? Will anyone actually listen? I have hope. And I know that the amount of heart that is propelling me to create on this platform, that you listening to this, you must be calling this information and perspective into your awareness and life. If I'm feeling propelled to create this, someone must be asking for it. And I trust that you will find me and I will find you, because that is how this quantum reality works. And I am creating this because you are important. The way you understand yourself and others and this whole reality is of the most importance. The health of your physical vessel is of massive importance. You are relevant and you matter. Your existence and the choices that you make and the thoughts that you think and the emotions that you feel matter. You are part of the system of humanity, and we are creating our future while healing our past together. And so all of you matters to me and to everyone else and to everything else, to this whole timeline and to the future. And it's okay if you don't remember this yet, and if no one else acknowledges this, but you are absolutely magnificent. You came here to this life magnificent, and one day you will leave still in magnificence. And this whole way through this human life, you are magnificent. We are living in a time of chronic distraction and dissociation, and where our minds are constantly trying to be controlled. And we live in a world of forces that are attempting to harm and to pollute and degrade and inflame our bodies and our consciousness. This is the time where we collectively wake up. We wake up out of the delusional, backwards, malevolent, entropic, and decaying systems of patriarchy and deceit, and we awaken into a reality within ourselves and then our communities where we can focus on benevolent actions and intentions of living and beginning to live with integrity and transparency and compassion for all fellow humans and sentient beings of this planet, where we know our responsibility to care for ourselves appropriately and compassionately, and where we value all beings and have reverence for all of life. So we all need to know in our hearts and hold in our vision that that is the life, that is the world that we want to create. And I'm sure at least whoever's in alignment and finds me and I find them through this podcast, that we all are very ready for that form of reality as our future. And as you can hear in my voice, this all means a lot to me. Regardless of if this podcast ever even earns me a single penny, or even hundreds of thousands of pennies, I'm in this because I know you are out there, and you need these words of encouragement and a shift in your perspective that is not easily found in our media that is so congested with distortion and doublespeak and misinformation and disinformation. Or, we've got so many spiritual teachers out there, unfortunately, that have not done their inner work to be able to truly guide people from places of integrity. Or, we have influencers who wish to fluff ego or acquire followers and money and prestige. And, where we look to outside of ourselves is often still a very... that we've got a lot of distortion going on the surface of this planet right now, and truly everything that we need is within ourselves. And know that I'm a wholehearted human who has been through a lot of shit, and I want you to know that you are seen and felt and never ever alone. We are all mid-process, always. No one completely knows what they are doing, and most people do not even have a close to accurate perception of what this world and reality is, and truly our interconnectedness. And this is why we have been unwell, depressed and anxious and stagnant or stuck. We have lost the understanding of who we are, where we came from, why we are here, what our bodies are, and what this human life thing is all truly about. You see, when we understand these points, everything, most everything that you do, feel, say, and think is going to radically shift. We simply step out of this box that society so brilliantly helps us to create within our own consciousness, and then our inner worlds change, and then society and our outer worlds will follow when we all make those internal shifts. So for me to have the privilege of being in your ears and speaking to your heart and your mind and hopefully creating a supportive situation for your consciousness, I want you to feel safe with me and grow trust in me so that we can truly walk together on this journey. So I want to share a little bit more about me still in this little introduction episode. However, over this series of this podcast, surely we will get to know each other very closely. So, most relevant, professionally, I am an internationally certified colon therapist or colon hydrotherapist. And immediately here, I want to note that in this podcast, I will be speaking from my experiences as a colon therapist, but I am talking to you as Ivy. I am the human behind the skills and training. Okay, so I'm talking to you here as a person who's has some really interesting and wonderful and challenging and wonderful experiences, but nothing that I say here is ever meant to diagnose, to treat, to cure, or to heal. Okay, I'm not a doctor. I am a holistic practitioner with a wealth of diverse training and experience behind me, and through my skill sets, I will provide you thought-provoking information, insights, and inspiration. But every listener, every human, is completely responsible for their own health, for informing themselves and choosing a medical professional or holistic medical professional or practitioner that they trust and feel aligned with, okay? So we all also in a society, we need to get back to a place of informed consent and growing trust with our practitioners, and really choosing what feels aligned and right for yourself. So, yeah, I'm a colon therapist as my self-employed day job. This means that I meet incredible humans who need some internal support, detoxification, hydration, and balancing of those internal ecosystems. So again, 90% of all diseases begin in the colon, and the colon's health, or lack thereof, affects literally every cell, tissue, and organ of the body. So I help folks cleanse their colons, become hydrated, eat in ways that are supportive to the digestive processes and healing, and then I have the absolute joy of witnessing them change disease patterns and symptoms and begin awakening to a newer, more balanced and conscious, healthier, more vibrant and vital next version of themselves. So I absolutely love this process, even though it means that I'm helping humans, adults, clean poop out of their bodies. This is still an incredibly joyful process, and I am truly honored to witness these transformations in people. In this role of being a colon hydrotherapist, it very interestingly pulls on nearly all of my previous areas of professional training and study, which I'm very thankful for because it gives me a very well-rounded and balanced perspective of the human body. So my previous training includes some molecular biology, psychology, holistic nutrition, Qin Tsung, which is the traditional Chinese medicine form of abdominal visceral massage. I have trained in iridology, of reprogramming the subconscious mind through the modality known as Psych K. Very, very interesting. Dr. Bruce Lipton does a lot of work with this. Absolutely check that out on YouTube. Incredible. Also, I'm trained as a yoga teacher, prenatal, postnatal yoga teacher, and I also did some advanced yoga teacher training in Peru. And also, I have in-depth studied energetic synthesis and polarity integration and down some deep rabbit holes. But nonetheless, I am so grateful that all of these areas of study have helped shape me into the woman that I'm becoming. And my gratitude, again, just to witness good humans heal and integrate is just, again, the most amazing thing to witness. Over the course of these podcast episodes, I will share a lot of me personally, of course, with you, and not just the professional, health-oriented aspects. And over time, some of the stories of myself that I will share with you will cover some of this following right now. I will share of being a legal immigrant in America. I will share of growing up in the Canadian cold and the odd journey of being an only child. I will share of chronic illness and mysterious illness that doctors could not explain. Of almost being diagnosed with cancer at 19 and again at 27. And also of my body healing itself through cleansing and purging the accumulation of the toxic world that had built up inside of myself. I will share of being married young and divorcing after 8 years. I will share of likely moving to America and marrying a second time. I will share of a spiritual journey to Peru and of grandmother ayahuasca. I will share of taking a vacation to Kauai and not getting on a plane back to Canada when I should have, or when the ticket said. I will share of living isolated on a beach underneath an ancient cedar stump. I will share of 2 miscarriages, and now being in my early 30s and intentionally waiting to bring forth a soul earthside. I will share of my interesting experiences of leaving one side of the continent and moving to the Bible Belt of America without even knowing that I was doing that. I will tell you of a male black bear that died in my arms, and stories of living off the grid in isolation and building my own cabin with my ex. I will share of stories that have taught me much and grown me even more. And maybe we will speak of dreadlocks on a small woman, or of the music of the soul that I feel through my cello. We will tell stories of the skies and of the lands and of ritual and of indigenous wisdom. The soul says do it, and so here I am. I trust that, what does my father always tell me? If you build it, they will come. And this is one of those things that I'm trusting. I'm building this. Who's coming with me? Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope that some of this has spoken to you on some levels, and that you are well in yourself and enjoying your day. And I will be creating at least 2 podcasts a week. Thank you for joining me. Keep coming back. I am so excited about the things that we have to share. So, I mean, you don't have to write this after only listening to the introduction, so I won't even ask you to do that yet. But if you're already feeling good about this, please at least subscribe so that you are notified when I do create more of these, because I'm doing it for you. I want to connect with you. So do go take really good care of yourself. Be kind to yourself, be kind to one another. Remember not to sweat the tiny stuff. There is so much more happening. We are so much larger and more brilliant than we understand, and the world is changing. I know that you're not seeing it yet on the news, on the TV, but it is marvelously changing, and we've got some really, really amazing good changes coming in the future. So yes, take care of yourself. So much love to everybody out there in podcast land. We'll see you soon.